The conservatives have pointed out that Mitt Romney did not mention Afghanistan, that Mitt Romney did not mention our soldiers. Now, how in the world can you spend billions of dollars and have 10 years of confrontation, and all of a sudden it's omitted from the Republican convention? Admiral Joe Sestak, former congressional member from Pennsylvania, here on the Ed Schultz Radio Show. Joe, good to have you back with us.
Good to be back with you, Ed. Thanks.
What are you doing now? What's happening? Give us an update on what Joe Sestak's doing.
Absolutely. I just started teaching at Cheney University, the oldest black university in America, here in my district, right here in Pennsylvania, course on ethical leadership. I'm also going to be doing the same thing at the other end of the state at Carnegie Mellon, as well as a different course that's going to be called Restoring the American Dream and Getting Our Economy Focused Upon It.
Interesting.
Yep.
Are you looking forward to this?
I very much so, for several reasons. One is I'm going to be back with the youth of America. I loved it. On an aircraft carrier, the average age of the 5,000 sailors was 19 and a half. And we'll be talking about the military today. And number two, I'm where ideas matter. Because if I do, and I'd like to get back into public service, I want to make sure that I'm able to articulate and think about it a lot better. And you know what? There's nothing that stimulates me more than the youth of America, because it is about their future.
What'd you think of the lack of military connection that the Republicans had at the convention?
I was surprised, quite frankly. I mean, even just a simple acknowledgement, to pause for a moment and say thanks for all those members who not only served overseas but had family members here at home, that 1% of American families that actually sacrificed physically for these near decade-long wars we've had. It was a missed opportunity, and frankly, sometimes when people just talk about going around the world and talking big and thinking it's about guacamole around the world, they don't understand the right utility or appreciate the right aspect of what our military and its men and women are all about.
I mean, what'd you make of Mitt Romney's saber rattling in dealing with Syria and Iran?
You know, I'm a little disappointed, quite frankly. Look, I don't believe the military option should ever be off the table, but it's on the back of the table. It's never on the front of the table, particularly after the lesson of what a preventive war, as under the Bush administration, meant for the harm of our national security when we went into Iraq. I really do believe that if you really are thinking about our men and women, our sons and daughters who have signed up and said, here am I, send me, you're trying by every means possible of the other elements of our power, the power of our economy, the power of our financial sanctions, the power of our diplomatic sanctions, to make Iran, for example, hurt without coercive military means. Because if we were to use the military option as our first type of step into it, and that appeared to be where Mitt Romney was leaning towards, then I think you haven't made sure you really husband the right use of our military when all options have failed. I really have appreciated how the president has gone around about Iran as compared to what Mitt Romney appears to bode for the future if he were to be commander-in-chief.
Well, it's a little nerve-wracking listening to the Republicans on foreign policy. Does it bother you that most, if not all, of the people in dealing with the Romney team are from the Bush administration?
Sure it does. Look, what they told us is that Iraq was going to be a simple cakewalk. Well, I have to tell you, Ed, if anybody thinks that Iran isn't going to be a more difficult scenario if it becomes necessary to strike so that they do not get a nuclear weapon, don't understand military and what happens out there at all. Look, Iran has hundreds of missiles that can rain down on Israel today. It has about 25 submarines, mini submarines, that can sit at the bottom of the Persian Gulf and just wait for a ship to come nearby and pop a torpedo. And it has scores of missile-firing small boats that are out there. It could close down the chokehold of the Straits of Hormuz, at least for a pretty damaging period of time. Would we win? You bet we would. But somebody better explain to the public the consequences of that strike So they understand it, as they never explain the consequences of the invasion of Iraq, which was not a clear nor present danger, before they say, let's just go and let's do a lot more with Iran than just trying to negotiate a peaceful resolution to stop the pursuit of a nuclear capability.
What is, do you think the president is pursuing the proper policy with the Iranians?
Without a question. Look, think about when he began, Ed, which was right after he became the commander-in-chief. He said to Russia, we're not going to put a missile defense system in Poland that you don't want there. But what he did instead was put it on Navy ships at sea. Today, they can defend Israel with a missile shield, which wouldn't have happened underneath the Bush administration's plan to the end of this decade. We will be able to protect America from those ships by the end of the decade, as well as if we had put a missile defense system in Poland. And he took a sword, so to speak, out of the eye of the bear. And then we got Russia, not perfectly, to begin to focus on two things. One, letting us use Russia for convoys to supply our troops in Afghanistan after Pakistan wouldn't let us use their supply routes anymore. They even offered us a base, an air base, to help support our troops in Afghanistan. And second, imperfectly, I buy that. But they have begun, at least under the leadership of this president, to coalesce around with the rest of the international community, closing down those types of goods that could flow into Iran and support its nuclear capability. This is about the world community shutting down Iran, where inflation is going out of sight right now, where unemployment is rising, where its oil tankers are sitting at sea because nobody's letting them into the ports because we were able to get Lloyd's of London and others not to give them insurance. Yes, the president is doing this right, to try to achieve our national security without having, although he's prepared to because we've deployed additional forces there, without having to, if we don't have to, use that military force. And I think he's doing about it the right way for our national security.
Admiral Joe Sestak with us here on the Ed Schultz Radio Show. Good to hear you, Joe. Keep up the great work. Congratulations on your unselfishness. And going to be teaching at Carnegie Mellon and also at Cheney University. Good for you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ed. Enjoy the week.
You too.
Bye-bye, sir.
Joe Sestak here on the Ed Schultz Radio Show. His take is always refreshing.